going to explain their little gift so you can get a little glimpse of their personality during this trip.
Hello, I'm James, and the reason I have a toy truck and some shop towels is because all the way up there, me and Caden would not stop. We would not be quiet for a few seconds without talking about cars or trucks or looking out the window at the semis coming up with us.
Hi, I'm Leland, and I got a Pokemon Pikachu because the whole time we was up there, everybody was getting so annoyed with me because I sang the same Pikachu song all day long, and especially Jacob. He wanted to kill me a few times, but he stuck through it.
I showed you the song.
And bad thing is Jacob. No, because I'm sitting beside Jacob, and I'm scared of Jacob. And the bad thing is Jacob showed it to me.
Mistake.
All right, Jacob, you gotta say it.
Okay, so my name is Jacob, and the reason I have a bus is because Caitlin doesn't know how to drive. And so we're riding down this mountain, and we're like these curves, on the mountain, and I dropped something, and so I got out of my seat to get it, and I could not get up the entire time we were going down this mountain because every time I stood up, she'd hit the curb, and then I would fall on the floor. And every time that happened, I'd be like, "Who driving this bus?"
Okay, so my name is River, and so I carry cards around pretty much everywhere I go. And the first night, or was it the first night or second night that we were there? Second night, we were chilling in the lounge, and we were I had cards, but Miss Caitlin had another fun little game called Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. And I'm not going to try and explain how to play this because I'm still somewhat confused. So, but no, it was a fun, very chaotic, had our hands almost broken due to how you have to play the game. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Caden, and like James said, I got the truck because of me and him talking about trucks, but I got the paper towels because my pillow was packed up in the back, so I used paper towels as a pillow, and I went to sleep on the bus.
My name's Allie, and my mom will have to explain it.
My name's Allie, and I have a thing of Miracle Whip because so we were on the bus and we were doing like middle names. Like Jamie over here, his middle name's Peace, and I think there was some other person like Grace, and we were trying to find a middle name for me, and Miss Dawn was like, "Oh, Miracle." Wait, no, Miracle.
We didn't like miracles, like miracles.
Yeah, she added some like fancy syllables to it. Anyway.
Okay. Hi, I'm Madeline, and I got 6 suckers, but I don't know what they mean.
I'll just say, because you're so sweet, I can't take it. That's why I just have to
Oh. My name's Mackenzie, and I got a monkey because the whole time when we were on the trip, I would walk up to Mark, and I would just yank his head back.
She was like a spider monkey.
I'm Caitlin, and obviously you can tell how much this group loves me. They got me a driver's manual. But I will let you know, my driving is perfect, okay? Jacob just needs to work on his core muscles.
My name is Jamie, and back in the day, me and Caitlin, we've been going for several years, and so we're used to being the young kids that used to go, but now we're getting older. And so while on the bus, I got put with a bunch of youth, and Caitlin didn't tell me, what it was going to be, but I became friends with Mackenzie and Madeline very quickly by hitting. They like to hit people, and they're like, "We like you," and so they start hitting you. And so I just put up with it the whole time. And then one day, I think it was like day 3, Madeline out of nowhere just goes, "Jamie, you just look like somebody who's a biter." And so everybody was ready for me to bite them from beating me up so much.
My name's Michelle, and I got a SpongeBob hat because I absolutely encourage Sailor's Madness on singing SpongeBob in the bus at any time.
Hi, I'm Brandon Williams. I don't know why I got a beef stick.
So hot, Bill. It's supposed to be a Slim Jim.
Slim Jim. Huh? Oh. Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. That'll be, yeah. And then I got a poster. I guess it's like my mug shot. So, yeah, so we're going to, that's why. Okay, yeah. All right. Yeah, because I'm a criminal. So.
My name is Jane. Like they said, we had two different places we went to. In the morning at the Wade Center, I'm not sure why they chose me to help with music because I'm the most computer illiterate person there is. But all I had to do was mash buttons so Mackenzie and MC could do their dance. Messed up a couple of times, but finally got it. So that's why I'm DJ Jazzy Jane.
On the ones and twos.
Okay, I'm Sailor, and
I'm Haley.
And we're gonna do it like together because we have the same gift. We got pliers. And so basically the reason we got pliers was because me and Haley are very hard-headed people and very prideful. And on the second night, we were so sick of the sleeping arrangement from the first night because the bunk beds were like so high and there's like no circulation like at all. And then there was like, it like swayed like this when we like climbed up on it. And so me and Haley were like, no, we're gonna like build the other bed out of the closet. So we get it out and, you're not talking. So we get it out and we like put the frame up and we put the other frame up and then the like center, like, I'm not even talking into it, but like board that like the mattress lays on, we like hooked the hooks into one end and then we went to hook it onto the other end. By the way, this was not a short process. This was an hour. It took us an hour.
We had to even put the dressers under the bed to hold it up to help us.
Because it was just the two of us and we were not going to ask for help. And so then the other end of the bed, we get to it and we realize one of the hooks on one of the sides is completely crooked. Like there's no way it's going in. But you can tell the next part.
Okay, so I'm going to take over now, but so it was crooked, so Sailor and I thought it was a good idea to build the foot of the bed, a new piece from one of the other beds. So we built that together. It took us like 10 minutes. And so when we get that together, we put it up to the bed, and I'm like, Sailor, this didn't change anything. The metal is still bent on the bed. So then basically we were trying to bend the metal with our hands and it wouldn't work out. So then our other roommate, Gracie, comes in and she's watching us for about 5 minutes trying to bend this metal with our hands, which obviously we aren't going to do. And she says that she has pliers. So then we take the pliers and we just bend it back in place and we hook it up and our bed was made after a total of 55 minutes building our bunk bed. So that's why we have those.
I just want to add real fast to that. The very next morning in the devotional time, there was an announcement made to please be quiet after curfew and not be banging because you're keeping the people awake below you, and we fully believe that was because of them.
My name's Polly, and I don't know why I got the clapping hands.
I'll show you later.
I had a feeling that's where it was coming. You better not be showing anything. Anyway, hopefully y'all will hear the song later or something.
I'm Joby, and I got a mixing thing here, and I accept this for Eddie and Miss Lundy, which couldn't be here, but we had a wonderful time serving all this group. They're amazing. Every time you turn around, one of them was coming in there asking if they could help us or whatever they could do. So we dearly enjoyed it, and we love each one of you.
I'm Mark, and to kind of play off what Mackenzie's already talked about, I didn't even know they made these anymore, but you know the little hands that come out, they're sticky hands, and you can shoot them out, and they stick to like the walls, or you can pick stuff up off the floor. It was long days, long, hot, sweaty days, and if you've never felt a bald head after it's been in a lot of sweat and got oily and dried and oily and dried, it's sticky. And why they would think that would be fun to reach up there and grab hold of it. But Mackenzie would come up and she would just smack my head, and it was like one of these little sticky things right here. And she would just walk away, and my head would follow her hand wherever she went. And so they could have gave me these and a neck brace, and I'd have felt a lot better.
My name is Jessica, a.k.a. JP, for those that don't know. I got pictures that my sweet, loving little Allie took of me. If y'all can see, forehead pictures, eyeball pictures, nose pictures, mouth pictures, and I even have a little mustache. And so Allie's gift, she will sit up in the middle of the night. So Allie showed the first gift, the duct tape. So that is to tie her down in the bed so she will not jump up and scare her mama and Caitlin. And then the other gift is she has found out that I have a dog with 3 legs. So she got the code to my phone and asked where my husband's number was. And so she called Mr. Robbie and begged him for our dog. Well, Allie, you have your own dog from me and Robbie.
What's up with the mustache?
Yeah. So we were in dorms with no air conditioning, and every night we were like up and downstairs and up and downstairs. I'd get in that room for the first few nights. It was so hot, y'all. I thought I was going to monkey. You'd get out, you'd get in the shower and cool off. You'd get out and you start sweating again. It was like, ugh, it was just miserable. So I got a fan and trail mix.
There's some other stuff in there.
Oh, trail mix.
Read the sign.
Okay. And fruit snacks.
Read the sign.
Okay. You're not you when you're hot and hungry. Oh, it's so hot. Okay.
Okay, so I got thrown to the wolves to go first this morning because I'm so nervous. But, okay, so this week I had every expectation of this week being like a breeze, and it was going to be easy because we got kindergarten, and I'm like good with kids. So I expected, you know what, I'm going to build relationship with these kids. They're going to be willing to learn, and they're going to want to learn about Jesus. And I thought they were going to have long attention spans. I could not have been further from the truth. I was so quickly humbled. And so we went into it, and like, when I tell you it was discouraging, like this week was it was uncomfortable, it was discouraging, it was heartbreaking to see that these kids did not have like any desire to just jump full in and just learn about God. And so I like complained about it, and it just got me like I was letting like the devil's attempts at stealing my joy. He was. And then there were so many attempts throughout the week, and we were getting into arguments, and like just throughout the week, there were so many like attacks on us because we're seen as a threat, because that's how much we have to offer to these kids and to these people. But okay, so the biggest thing that I was taught this week, which like if you know me like personally, you know that I care so much about my family and my friends that I want everybody to know the joy that I have for Jesus, and so I'm very judgy when it comes to that, and I'm so hateful when it comes to that. That's my first instinct. And so the Lord taught me this week that when these kids did not want to learn, and they did not want to sit still, and they did not want to stop talking, and like it reflected the home lives that they come from, it taught me, and the Lord reminded me that the number one way to show people that like the love of Jesus is to love them. Like that's the first step. That's the biggest thing that you can do for these kids especially. They're not going to remember the gospel and what you're trying to pour into them. And like our kids couldn't even repeat truth back to us 30 seconds after we told them that the Bible is truth. Like, and it was so like, it was discouraging. Like it was like, you know, like, God, what are you doing? And so he quickly showed me that like the number one thing that I can do and take back home that I taught, or that God taught me, was go back home and not only that, just continue to love people, because that is literally all you can do. We're not called to judge, and we're not called to be hateful and, you know, like I said, judge, because who am I to judge when like the Bible says, when I judge somebody for having a speck in their eye, but I have a plank in mine. Like, I'm not perfect at all, but I'm so quick to judge my family. And so the Lord really taught me, and it sucked. It was like a gut punch, but that we are to love first.
Amen.
Just a reminder, my name is Jamie, and I am an honorary Botsford Baptist Church member. Thank you. I'm originally from Gibson, but if you talk to me after the service, you may not get the same response. I'll say I'm Botsford Baptist, but this is my 10th or 11th year going. I've been going since I was 12, 13 years old. And so I've known Caitlin for several years just because we always saw each other in passing, or the years that we worked together, we became really good friends. I see my friend Miss Katie back there. Loved seeing her every single year and all the fun and wild things that she would do. But I just you're going to hear a lot of good stories. And like I said, I've been coming for so many years, and I think it was the first or second day I heard Jacob ask Caitlin. He was like, "Caitlin, why do you come every year?" And so hearing Caitlin's reason for that got me thinking throughout the whole week. I was like, God, why do I come every single year? I am a Christian. I work in the church. I serve you. I love you. But why West Virginia? And so I was thinking, and last year we had the opportunity for everybody in our group to share our testimony. And I got to share it last year, but didn't get to share it with this specific group. But throughout my life, I've always, I wasn't well off, but we never growing up, but we never missed out on anything. There was a few things of we couldn't do as kids, and so I always had that mindset of I have everything I need. I never felt that discomfort. But going to West Virginia was just a real deep part of my testimony year after year, because it's been a spiritual growth for me every year. I could cry just thinking about some of the memories I have in West Virginia, because growing up 13, 14 years old, I think I'm the stuff. All these little kids love me. But it's certain days throughout the mission trip, throughout the years, I've seen so much brokenness. Like me and my brother, we've been to several churches. He's over there representing me in the congregation. But I've saw so much brokenness and so much need throughout that I didn't get to see in my area, because I've had it all. My friends had it all, or so we thought, But it was just amazing to see how much kids hunger for attention, as well as just a book bag. We always had a book bag growing up, but kids would literally be crying, hugging on to book bags. I can't believe this is mine. So real quick, that was a tangent. I literally put it in notes. But like I said, going to West Virginia has been a deep part of my testimony growing up, getting to go year after year. But my favorite part this year, I ended up doing a different curriculum at my church for VBS. And so one of the hardest things is we're talking about how God's truth never changes. And just that sentence right there is so powerful, and it's hard to explain to a first and second grader, which I had, was God's truth never changes. But during one of my lessons with Gracie, who's not here, she did an awesome job. I want to give a shout out to her, because when I was her age, I was scared to teach, but she did a wonderful job. But with the God's truth never changes, we played several games where it's some people say this, but God says this. And so one of them was, some people say, do what makes you happy. And then it says, but God says that my plan is best. And that just really hit me in the heart, because I had one of our students who Madeline and Mackenzie will probably talk about, who literally said, but my teacher told me something else. And I work in the school system, and so we have to be very careful about sharing our faith through words. We have to do it through our nonverbals, as well as, loving on the kids as much as we can without saying the name Jesus, which is hard. But she told me, we were talking about how Jesus is the only way to heaven, and she straight up told me and Gracie, she was like, well, my teacher said that's not true. And so that really hurt me to, hear that. So that was, a moment of shock, because, sometimes we feel we go to church and everything and we hear Jesus, but there's other truths out there that aren't the true truth. My last thing I wanted to share, the reason why I loved West Virginia, I know I told you it was part of my testimony. But growing up, I got to go because I didn't have a job, and now I have a job, and I have bills, and blah, 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 blah. And there's the past 2 years, I've always held off till the last minute. You can ask Caitlin, because I have all these other different responsibilities. But when you go on a mission trip, you literally are going to do nothing but serve Jesus. You'll learn more about yourself, and you'll learn more about God. But the last thing I just want to say is that when you're there in West Virginia, I was telling JP when we had our little talk, I was like, I literally come up here because this is the only year where, like I said, I work at a school and I can't verbally, talk about Jesus, but this is a week out of the year that I look forward to of just pouring in, and I get just as much out.
Okay, so I'm Mackenzie, if you don't already know, and I already said it earlier, but this is my first year going to West Virginia, and it really moved me, and I think I've become a better Christian since I came back and when we were there. And so when we were there, I met this girl, her name is Ashton, and Madeline will probably talk about her too. And I got really close to her over the past couple of days because she was at the Wade Center and she went to the church we were going to. And she's the most sassiest, the funniest kid you'll ever meet. You can ask any of them. She'll have a comeback to anything you'll say to her. And when we were dancing, she was and we started teaching them the moves to the verse. She was so eager to learn the verse. She was probably one of the first kids that learned the verse, and it made me proud, I guess. I'm not a mom, but if I was a mom, that's how proud I would be, because I was just so proud of her. And on the last couple of days, on Thursday or Wednesday, we didn't leave yet, but I was hugging her goodbye, and I just went to the bathroom and I started sobbing, and then I was so sad because I didn't want to say goodbye to these kids. And then I walked out and Caitlin was like, "What's the matter?" And I was just like, "Nothing, I'm fine." And then she was like, "Don't lie to me." And then I was like, I just don't want to leave these kids because I love them so much. I just got so close to them, I just didn't want to leave them. And then on Thursday, we were Ashton's class was right before our end assembly, and she started crying, and I was like, "It's gonna be okay, I'll be back next year," and she was I was like, "And Jesus got you, and he'll take care of you while we're gone, and he'll take care of you while we're here." And she was like, "No," and I was like, "Yes, he will, I promise." And she just started crying, and it just broke my heart. It just it was I don't know, but it just hurt me so bad that we had to leave them, because I got so close to them over the years, and I was just hugging her, and I was like, "Jesus got you, it's okay." And yeah, and sorry, I'm saying a lot, but yeah, I just think I've become a better Christian over that week. And even though the beds were super uncomfortable, at the end of the week we did not care as long as we had somewhere to sleep because we were so tired. Yeah, I think that's all.
Okay. Hi, I'm Madeline, and that was also my first West Virginia trip. And me and Mackenzie did music together, and that was definitely one of the funnest things I could have done. Seeing how the kids were so engaged in dancing, and seeing how much God can do in such a short period of time. And gosh, I'm out of words. Yeah, that's it. Yep.
While we're on this thing, can I do that real quick? Thank you.
Because I don't know if Allie's going to say it, but while we're on this slide, this is a perfect one. So this is the adult class that we're looking at here. The guy there in the middle in the yellow, he has cerebral palsy. He was not supposed to live past the age of 12. He's had multiple surgeries. He's got shunts in his head, multiple of those. And he really, really liked Allie. They would tell jokes. That's what they're doing right there. He would call Allie over, "I got a joke for you," and they would sit, and then Allie would tell him a joke, and they were just back and forth. And then Allie would come back around, and he would sit with Miss Mary. Do you see her over in this corner right there? Allie was helping Miss Mary with her craft, and then we were putting a Bible verse on there, but Miss Mary needed help. So Allie's going through the Bible right there, reading different scriptures to her to see which one she wanted on there. And then while she's across the room, the guy in the yellow would call back to Allie again, "Hey, Allie, I got another one for you." And so, I mean, it was pretty incredible. Allie, do you want to say anything about that? I'm so proud of you, and I was so impressed with how you behaved and handled yourself.
I don't know what to say. You want me to tell you all a joke?
You don't have to. Do you remember one that Randolph said gave you?
I remember one that I did. What do you call a dog that swims and solves mysteries? Scuba-doo.
Do you want to go?
Pass it back.
Okay, I'll go ahead and speak. So I'm not going to talk long, but I just had some food for thought for y'all. I want y'all to think about what missions really means to you and like why someone would go on a mission trip or what the purpose of that is, because that's something that I've been like thinking about for the past few years. Ever since I went on this trip for the first time 2 years ago, it really changed the way I saw the Lord. And so I just want to share a little scripture and then say something. So in Matthew 9, verse 36, Jesus has been healing these crowds, and he's been preaching these crowds, and he's tired, and he just got done, and he turns to his disciples, and he looks out in the crowds, and he has compassion for them. It says, when he saw the crowds, he had compassion for them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep with no shepherd. And then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore pray earnestly to the Lord of the harvest to send forth laborers into his harvest. So I want y'all to think about that, like how Jesus sees these people and they're harassed and they have no they have no one to help them except for us. And like a lot of people say, well, you know, I'll pray about it. I don't really feel like, you know, the Lord's telling me to go on a mission trip or to go help people. But Jesus already told us to go. We don't have to wait for a verbal, like, yes. He's already told us to go in Matthew. And so think about that and think about what it means to really go. Because when I went 2 years ago and when I've been to New Orleans and when I went this year, all I've saw were people, just like in that verse, that were just harassed and people just hated on them, and they have had like a really sorry life, but like we were able to show them love. And I know this one girl in the youth, you could just like tell it just seemed like a lot of people would pick on her, and so to see her come in and like just have a good time and smile about something, it really just touched my heart. So.
All right, so this year was Brandon and I's first year as well to the West Virginia mission trip, and it was incredible. We definitely have already signed up to go next year. So these jokers threw us into teaching the youth, and I have no idea how to do that. And I'll tell you what, that first night, me and Brandon were just like heartbroken because we just both felt like our lesson didn't go well. Everybody was just kind of like on the wrong foot, and it was really, really disencouraging, I think. Is that a word? So the first night, I guess we just prayed about it and slept about it, and I'll tell you what, the second night was incredible. They were smiling, they were laughing, they were making nicknames on their name tags. They were actually making that a whole entire game, and it was really fun. Brandon did the first couple lessons, and I did the last lesson, and believe it or not, neither one of us really like to talk in front of people. So it was really scary, and it is It's very nerve-wracking, but once you're up there and you just start going, you don't even need the lesson plan anymore, and you're just like, this is the word, and just hold it with you, and no matter what they say, you know that you have God in your heart and he's on your side. I will say the Wade Center was super fun too. I want to shout out to James and Lily. They helped us out with the rec, and so it was me, Brandon, James and Leland, and Mark. Mark was there. We would make games, and they would, do the little rotation, and we took a little vote about halfway, and they said James was their favorite. What is that about? But the last day we were out there playing with them, it was water balloon day, and it was really, really exciting. The kids were pumped about it, and I know I got dunked with the bucket of water, and some of their coaches, and it was a really fun time. And the Wade Center is just an incredible facility. I wish we had something like that around here, because we would go there in the morning, they would have breakfast, we'd hang out with them, then they'd go over to the auditorium and do their little worship part and do their verse, and then we'd split off into our rotations, and they went to, they had crafts and Bible study and rec, and they have a garden there, and they have a therapy bunny named Miss Lucy, and she has her own office. They are teaching them about beekeeping, and they get to actually harvest their own honey next week. And so they're also tutoring for classes, and I know I'm not a good student, so if I would have had a place like that to go and be comfortable, that reaches every learning aspect, it would be really amazing. And they even have the doors painted different colors, so if you can't pick up on reading cues, you can still do color cues. But anyway, Wade Center was really incredible, and I had a good time every day that day, but when we went to church that night, that was a different experience. But by the end of the night, those kids were hugging all over us saying, you have to come back next year, you have to. So I'm excited for that. And do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah.
I forgot something.
All the time I'm looking at Robbie because because he is. He's Robbie is like a big inspiration, because he gets up here every time for Awana, and it's like his icebreaker is the woo, and he does that so that way it kind of already just like calms him. And like he says all the time, he's like, I can't talk in front of people. I don't like to talk in front of people. I'm the shy person. And he does it because the Lord leads him to, and the Lord puts it on his heart, and it pretty much, the Lord speaks through him. And I cannot agree with that any more than and he'll do that. He'll humble you if you let him in and you let him humble you, and he'll do it in a good way. But you have to see that. You have to feel him humbling you and him bringing you down, so that way you reach up. Like pretty much he's gonna put your head about that far up under the water, and he's going to let you figure out that that's how, he's like, you're not going to be able to swim without me. I'm the life preserver. And he's going to have that life preserver right there, and he's going to be like, all you got to do is reach for it, and you're good. You're good forever. But you're going to have to reach for that life preserver, because there's whatever doubt and whatever fear and whatever anxiety that you have is tied to your ankles, and it is dragging you deeper and deeper. But he's going to say, it's dragging you down, but I'm only letting it drag you about that far, just enough to where you need me. And as long as you humble yourself to him and you grab a hold of that life preserver, and once you do and you come out of that water and you take that first breath, it's just all the stuff that was on your ankle dragging you down just barely up under the water that he was allowing it to, he lets it go. And that first breath, I would almost say it's kind of like the first breath when you were born. You don't ever remember it, but for everybody around you and for your mom, it was the best breath that she could have ever heard. and the first breath that, you know, was the time that you were alive, or the when you were born. So it's like a rebirth. But yeah.
I forgot to tell y'all that, interestingly enough, my lesson, I did the lesson the last day, and the whole lesson was about encouraging one another. And I tell you what, this group of people right here really helped us through that whole situation. One of the things Caitlin said was, my God is a God of, what'd you say, God? Right, God is a God of comfort, not comfort zone. So I played that in my head a couple million times. And Jacob helped us a lot with just give up and read it. And Mr. Mark said something, I think it was Mr. Mark, that it only, no, it was it Polly? Anyway, it was like 30 seconds. It only takes 30 seconds, whether everybody's blank face, mean mugging, half asleep. Maybe they're just afraid to respond, just the way that I know I have. I used to be scared to pray in front of the Awana kids, and they just give me so much encouragement. And the fact that even though we didn't feel like we got through anybody on the first night, the next couple of nights we're like, okay, it doesn't matter how we say it, it's coming out of our mouth for a reason, and it only takes 30 seconds for it to click, and it'll resonate with one of those kids. And I think that was very true. And for the week to end with me doing the last lesson of encouragement was just really mind-blowing and really great to see God working through us. So, who am I pulling? Allie.
Does anybody else want to talk before I wrap it up?
So I helped Dawn at the Wade Center with crafts, and then I did 5th and 6th grade teaching at Edgemont. But let me tell you, those kids at the Wade Center have my heart. I love the church, but the first day, Miss Polly came up to me, she says, JP, Caitlin needs you. I said, oh boy, I'm in trouble. What'd I do? Caitlin said, JP, I need you to run to Walmart. We forgot Jell-O and drinks. I ran to Walmart. I got sugar-free Jell-O because that's all they had, and I got Capri Suns. And those kids, some of those kids had never had Jell-O before, and they ate it up, and it was sugar-free. And then I'm just telling y'all, those kids at 12 years old, when they go into 6th grade, or after 6th grade, after 6th grade, they age out. And so where do they go when they age out? Because there's nothing for them. The church across the street has opened up for 7th grade and up, I believe. And one of the kids that's aging out, we were talking and just cutting up, and the teacher was like, the bishop is, he likes to crack the whip. And he's like, what is crack the whip? I said, he's just going to keep you in line. He looked at her, he said, is he mean? All these kids want is love. And all he's worried about is this bishop mean? And it just broke my heart because they go home. Some of them don't ever get a snack. They don't get to eat, so they eat breakfast and lunch at the Wade Center. And the Jell-O was a hit. Do you want
I'll go ahead, and I wrote down what I was going to say because I can ramble from time to time. But as I thought about how this trip went, overwhelming, and I mean that in a very good and an incredible way, miraculous way, is the easiest way I can try to sum up what took place. Right off the bat, we talked about this last week, and we even prayed about it and talked about it during the closing ceremony. This church that we're using there, the pastor has been under fire to continue doing what has been taking place there for years. And right off the bat, Sunday morning, we go into a Sunday school class. That is the older people of the church. And when we finish, we're wrapping things up. People in that church are coming over to us and telling us how much they appreciate us coming, which is a shift in how those people were feeling, which, we've been praying for this church here in Georgia. And so that's answered prayers. They still need prayers. As we go through the week, we start having adults that are coming to the adult class. And one of the gentlemen that came one night, if he's not the oldest, he's one of the oldest members of that church, if not the oldest member of that church. And they're interacting in this class. It's somebody new every week from this church that's coming into this adult class, which shows again that God is softening hearts in this church and allowing this mission to continue to take place there. But we still need to be praying. The phone's trying to log me out. I don't know what that is. But I got from the smallest children to the oldest adults, everybody was impacted by God through this team. And it can only be described as miraculous. It really was. Relationships, and we talked about this and you saw them describe this, love-filled, that took moments. And I literally mean that, moments. You have a bond with these kids, these adults there. Sometimes it's bonds that would normally take years to build. I mean, it's heart-wrenching. And it's agape love, and we think we're going there to pour into them. Man, they're pouring into us. And you see, I'm even reading, I'm getting choked up. They share with us, they bring us gifts, letters, hugs, and many tears. We can attest to that. And it is, the little girl they were just talking about, she was already heartbroken at the Wade Center before lunch, knowing that that night we were going to be leaving. And it's just not, just a few tears. I mean, it's heart jumping, sobbing as we're leaving. And that's from adults all the way down to children. And I was in awe at the way that God worked in this group, particularly the younger generation. Again, I'm not taking away from anything the adults did, but the younger kids. And let me pull up the scripture.
While you're pulling up the scripture, look at the screen.
Oh. Spider monkey going on there. This is some scripture that typically applies to how you should work with your employer. And of course, we did have a boss with us, Miss Caitlin, and she's a good boss, stern but good. But here, and I'm in Ephesians 6, and I'm going to start in 6 and 7. It says, "Not with eye service as men pleasers, but as servants of Christ, doing the will of God from the heart, with good will doing service as to the Lord and not to men." Let me go back here to my other screen. Talking about the young adults here, and we talked about how everybody was, it seems like Satan was just after this group. And when you go into something like this, and guys, we threw almost everybody into the deep end. I mean, the really deep end. Some of them had never even helped teach a class, better yet have them teach a class. And so you see them in their minds, you have this perfect scenario of how everything's going to go, and man, it just does not go like that. Not only because, they're just kids, but also they're coming from dysfunctional homes, and then you throw in that Satan is doing everything they can to take away from this trip and the impact that you're going to have on these kids. And there's a lot of times that people were getting discouraged and dissuaded by what they were doing, but they never stopped serving. They kept on going back joyfully. And the reason is because they put this expectation on themselves and wanted to be as much like Jesus to these people they were coming in contact with, to show them that love that Jesus shows all of us. And I saw it play out time and time again with these kids. My phone keeps on locking me out. That's Satan trying to keep me discouraged up here now. And as they did that, they wasn't doing it for recognition for anybody, but they were doing it because it was the calling that God had placed on their heart. Matthew West has a song, and the lyrics go, "I'm so tired of talking about how we are God's hands and feet," and we learn how to do that. But it's easier to say than to be. Live like angels of apathy who tell others, it's all right, somebody else will do something. Well, I don't know about you, but I'm sick and tired of life with no desire. I don't want a flame, I want a fire. I want to be the one who stands up and says, I'm going to do something. This team, especially this younger generation, did that. They stood up, they were his hands and feet. They were. If I talk to you about the things I did, I literally saw Jacob get on his knees to help a guy put on a pair of pants. That's being hands and feet.
He didn't know what size clothes he wore.
Yeah, even this is an adult man who does not know what size clothes he wears. His mom, who's next door, doesn't know what size clothes he wears. And Jacob literally got on the floor to help him try on a pair of pants over his pants. That's service. That's love. They had a fire, a flame. I mean, they're excited. They're on fire. When we should be tired and want to take naps, I mean, they're hooting and hollering and having a good time, and they're doing it out of love. Dawn summarized this week while we were there, and she says, this hasn't felt like a mission trip. This has felt like revival, and it really has. I think all of us can attest that we're different now than we were when we left. And it was a revival in our hearts, and we grew so much closer together. But if we take that same fervor that we have in our heart now, that stirring that we have, I was talking to the pastor about, especially the younger generation, man, we can change Burke County. When you look at EBA, the young adults from EBA, from the other churches that went, man, we can set this county on fire. We can set this church on fire. So I encourage y'all to stay with that fervor. Last year we went with 11, if I'm correct. This year we jumped to 23. And guys, I don't know why this number keeps on coming in my head. I'm shooting for 57 next year going. And of course that scares Caitlin to death in her eyes. She acts like she wants to vomit every time I say that. But guys, it can be easily done. If God calls you, be involved. Brandon, there was a lot of people behind the scenes that were working here to make all this possible. And absolutely, that is a phenomenal thing that y'all did that and made this possible for us. But if God is calling you to get involved, chase that desire. Get on fire and go, because as much as we pour into them, they still need more. They're looking forward to us coming back. I asked them, I said, y'all guys, y'all be praying on y'all's end that we get to come back. They're praying for us to return. They look forward to the Georgia people hitting that community. But we got to go. We can't just stand by and think somebody else is going to do something. We've got to do something.
This picture right here, my favorite part of the entire trip, and I've said it over and over and over, I loved working with the kids in both locations, but our worship time, I've never had worship like that. Look, I mean, I even took a video just so that I could relive it once I get back home. The glory of God was just running down our faces. My shirt was wet from crying. Leland, on the last night, he was standing beside me, and he put his arm around me, and we just swayed and cried, and it was just absolutely, it was absolutely just incredible. You could just feel God's presence. And that was the little room, y'all, that we did devotions in each day, and worship. Now, y'all, that was worship.
This was my first year, and I can tell you, I do not deserve the joy that came into my heart. It was overwhelming. There's no words that I can say to tell God how much it meant to me to go up there. These kids, this community needs to be so proud of these kids, young adults. They're not kids, they're young adults. They taught me a lot of things. Each and every family and member should be so proud of this group. It was amazing. Again, I just can't, I don't have the words. There's no words on this earth to say how the joy I received by going. Eddie, he led us, and one thing I did learn about Eddie, you don't talk to Eddie when you're grocery shopping. He's like a rolling grocery list. So just leave him alone and let him do his thing. And by the way, I was not the oldest one. There was one older than me, and that person was a very lively person. But
you saw he leaned this way when he said that.
But we had the best time. Tires, boy, I was wore out. These kids and these young adults can work on you. But it was such a blessing. I was telling Mr. Mark here, I said, we get so busy in the kitchen and doing this and doing that, I just raised my hand and say, bathroom break, boss, please. And he let me go to the bathroom, just shake his head again. But we had the most fun. The young adults, the boys would always come in and, can we help you? What can we do? They grabbed the trash bags up and out the door they go. It was amazing. But the joy that you get just seeing the smile on not only these faces, but the people that's up there, they were just so appreciative. And it's a feeling that you just don't get in everyday life. So if you get to go, take the opportunity. It'll be worth it. I don't know if the good Lord will allow me to go back, or Miss Caitlin asked me to go back, but I'd love to do it again.
And Joby got thrown into it at the last minute because when Eddie needed help, and he didn't have any. And so he got a blessing for doing it, though. Well, I didn't know you were going to. I just wanted to say, talking about making up your mind to go, for years I said, I'm going to go on that trip this year. I'm going to go on that trip. Well, I was working, and I'd always use that as an excuse. I can't take a week off of work. Well, this year I wasn't working, so I couldn't use that. And so even before they started talking about the trip, I told Tim, I said, I'm going this year for no other reason is I want to find out why we keep going to the same place. Why haven't they learned to do Bible school on their own yet? And that's the truth. That's really the way I felt about it. And so I put my name on the list and went to see for myself what was going on. And then Caitlin started talking about going to the Wade Center, and she started scaring us to death on what we may find when we got there and what kind of kids it was going to be. And then I started saying, I don't know if I want to do this or not. But they were, they were different kids. But Jamie and myself and Gracie were in charge of teaching their Bible lessons to them, and we taught 3 classes every morning, kind of different levels of kids. And on the second day, every day we would go over our one particular Bible verse we wanted them to learn. And on the second day, I said, any one of you that can say this verse by yourself on Thursday before we leave, I'll give a prize. Well, to our shock, everyone got excited about getting that prize, and we had to give out prizes to all of them at the end of the week. Everybody could say it. And not only that, they understood it because the words that were words that maybe I would have had to look up a little bit, we explained them to them. So they didn't just say words, they knew what the words meant when they said them. And I enjoyed this bunch, too. They taught me a lot.
Even the church clap. I know I say every single year that God shows up and shows out in West Virginia, but this year, he showed up and he showed out. If you're under the age of 20, please stand up. Jacob doesn't like not being a kid anymore. But every single one of these kids showed up this week, and some of them were there just because they wanted to go just do something different. Some of them were there because I asked them and they really didn't have a choice to say no, because every excuse they gave me, I gave them an answer to. But every single one of these kids this week made their faith their own in different ways. They were no longer able to depend on their mom and dad to make sure that they had what they need. They were no longer able to depend on their grandparents to make sure their grandparents' faith is what was sustaining them for that week or the reason that they had a little bit of faith at all. They made their faith their faith, and you got to see God show up in them and use them. The fruits of the Spirit came out. This many middle high schoolers can get grumpy really fast. But there was not a single day that they complained. There was not a single moment they asked, why do I have to? There are a few of them, their name just comes out of my mouth faster than the rest of them. I don't know why. But I would lean on them heavily. Hey, I need you to go set up 7 tables. Hey, I need you to go pull 15 chairs. Hey, I need you. And there was never once a complaint. There was extreme joy the entire week, even in the midst of a migraine. I put him in the nursery and made him go to sleep, and I turn around and he's like, I'm good, I'm back. He's like, I'm not missing it. Same thing with every single one of these kids. the last night, there isn't a single one of these kids that wasn't crying because they didn't want to leave, because they were so immersed in their faith. They were so kingdom-minded that even though we were sleeping on beds that were this big and nothing but springs and had no air condition, they did not want to leave. They were so focused on doing the work for the kingdom that all of these worldly hardships were nothing at all. There were a little bickering. I mean, they're pretty much brothers and sisters now, so they did fight. But there was no complaints. There was no, I want to go home, I don't want to be here anymore. There was no anger. They were so joyful and so peaceful and so on fire. It was unreal. And it was all because every single day we would take a second and we would just worship as hard as we possibly could. And when you worship, God is going to provide you every single thing you need. Whether that's, hey, you need a little bit of peace because today you're struggling. Hey, you need a little bit of confidence in yourself because you're so worried you didn't finish the lesson that you're struggling to teach the next day. But when you get there, He provides you everything. Most of these people, I assign their jobs, and they get a little scared of that. But I tell them where they're going to be, and that's what they have to do because somebody decided to put me in charge. But God provides them with every single thing they need to make the best youth teachers that these kids are literally, if you don't show back up, we're coming to Georgia to get you. Or the best kindergarten teachers where the kids may not be sitting still, but at the end of the week, if you ask them what their towel said, they can tell you truth. They may not say it to them, but they know what truth is. And they know every time we walk past certain things, that's Jesus. We walked past a picture with one of their hardest kids, and it's a picture of Jesus washing feet. And he's like, let's look at this picture. And I'm like, okay, buddy, you need to calm down. Let's look at this picture. And he goes, that's Jesus. What is he doing? And I'm like, Jesus is washing feet. He goes, why would he do that? And so we got to sit there and talk with this kid about Jesus washing feet. And you can ask the girls, he did not sit down all week at all. Woo, bless him. But he was, in his own way, seeking out Jesus. And our only job is to show up and love him through every single bit of that hardship. And that's why these kids get so attached to us and we get so attached to these kids, is we're so kingdom-minded. All that we have flowing out of us is this agape love. And these kids see that. That's why every time, they don't know these people. Most of these people were new first-timers. But they clung to them because they were the Georgia people who every year show up and show Jesus no matter what. So they don't have to fear us. They don't have to fear us like they fear their teachers or they fear the people walking down the streets, because they know our only job here is to love you as hard as we possibly can love you. And this group did that. And they love each other now. They pick on each other because we're now a family. And God used every single person on this trip to fill a certain area that needed to be filled. I walk up to people like Mr. Joby and Mr. Eddie and Brandon, and they throw all of these excuses at me as to why they can't go. And every time they throw an excuse, I'll just walk away for a minute, and then I'm coming back the next day. Okay, what's your excuse today? And you can ask Mr. Eddie, the reason he went last year is he ran out of excuses when I asked him. And he'll tell you. Same with some of these other people. They ran out of excuses, and that's because God had a specific plan for them, and they needed to be there. They needed this confidence in their faith. They needed the ability to show up in this church and show out because God now has a faith plan for them, because they accept it. And it is amazing every year to see how, if you are kingdom-minded and you focus on just Him for an entire week, how much change He can do in your heart and the heart of the people around you. So we are fixing to worship, and we're fixing to sing a song. It's called Something About That Name, and it literally just talks about Jesus' name, because there's nothing more powerful than that. And my group knows I'm long-winded, and we're all crybabies, so don't just pull that on me. But please stand up, and if you don't know the words, just listen to them and worship, because this group is on fire for Jesus, and if you allow them to, they can pull you into that fire with them and push you just as far as we were pushed. There are so many stories we can tell, and we are way over time, but if you want to talk to us, please come up and talk to us. Sailor has hours worth of stories she can tell. And same with Haley, and the same with Mackenzie and Madeline and all of these guys over here. They're is so much we want to talk to you about. We just don't have the time to. So please stand up and just worship with us.